Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll see some of the admin commands that help us, to administer or monitor and manage your MongoDB cluster, and also have a look at some of the settings of, manage how to manage your collections and database. Okay, so first we will log into our MongoDB server. So for that, we'll first become the root, and we will say MongoD. DB path is /var/lib/mongo. Okay, so now the MongoDB server has started and it is waiting for connections on port number 27017. So we'll start another console, and from there we'll log on to the Mongo client. And now we'll say show databases, and we will use the admin database. Okay, and in the admin database now we will say db dot run command, which will give information about the build info. So this is where you will get the list of your version, the Git version, then SSL version, then JavaScript engine, bits, debug information, maximum decent size, and all this information. Okay. If you remove this, then you will get an error message that you have to put in some command. So what is this? Run command is a way that you can, use a method that you can use to execute some commands. And by executing the build info command, you can get all the admin information or all the version information about your MongoDB server. Okay. Next up, we will use some more admin concepts or admin commands. But before this, what we will do is we'll say show DBs again. And this time what we will do is we'll again use our database bookstore. So we'll say use bookstore, and we'll say db dot my bookstore dot find objects that are tt13. Okay, so what is this? This is we are trying to create an error. Okay, this is what we are doing is we are trying to create an error. Now this error is created. Now if I do db dot get last error, then we will get the error which was occurred. Okay, so this is the way by which the admin can, admin or even the developer can get a list of all the errors that have occurred, and can be sure that okay, this is the reason why the error has occurred, and this can be used for auditing. Okay, so we can also get the error as well as we can get the complete error object. We can also get the complete error object, so in which we'll get all the details about the code, the connection id, and everything about that particular error. Okay, now if you want to check the status of the server, you can issue a command as db dot server status, and this will give you a lot of information about your server. Okay, so you can basically use some of this information to, make some admin decisions. Like here you have your host, version, process, the process id, uptime, then the number of connections, then the number of cursors, then index counters, then what locks you have, then the network information, op counters, then record stats, and lot of metrics information is there inside in the time to live inside this command. From this command you will get the information of your server that is currently running. Okay, means basically this will be your primary server in case you have a replica set. Now if you want to check the status of the database which is in use, so you can say db dot stats. So this will give you information about the database that is currently in use. So it is, the database is bookstore, The collections, total collections in this are 8. The total number of objects is this. Average object size is this. The data size is this. Index size is this. Total number of indexes is this. And all information about the current database that is in use is listed by db.stats. Now, if you want to check the status of any collection, you can say db.mybookstore, the name of the collection, dot stats. So with this, you will get information about basic information about your collection, that the name of the collection, then what is the number of documents inside it, the size, the average object size, and all information. This is what you will get from if you want to check for the collection statistics. Okay. Now let's look up into some advanced MongoDB administration commands. Okay. Now what will we do when you have to export a collection to a JSON file? Now if you want to take this MongoDB's collection and dump it in some other collection, so what you will be requiring is you have to export it. So what you will do is you will say Mongo export. First you will get out of this. We don't need to be inside this. Inside the Mongo shell. We can do it outside the Mongo shell. So we'll say we have to do it in outside the Mongo shell. So we'll say Mongo export a database called as bookstore. From that, take a collection called as my bookstore and import it to a file called as mybookstore.json. Okay, so it is exported. Now if you go and have a look in your home, so this is where it is saved. So now you can use this file in some other server, and using import command you can create a new collection out of it. So now let's see that. So what we will say is now Mongo import a collection, name the collection as imported, import it from a file called as mybookstore.json. Saying file does not exist. Okay, spelling is different. Basically it's 2. Okay, so now if you log in in your Mongo client again and say show DBs, okay, so you can see a new database is created which is called as test database. So now use this test database, okay, and say show collections. So you can see that your new collection called as imported is created here. Okay, now for example, if you want to import a collection from the file to a specific database, then what you will do? We'll say that Mongo import to a database bookstore. By default, it gets imported to the test database. But if I want to import it in database, so I'll say that import it in database in a collection called as imported, and the file is mybookstore.json from where you have to import it. So So now if you go here and say show DBs, and say use bookstore, and say show collections, then you have this imported in here. Now if you do db dot imported dot find, then you will see the documents in there. Okay. Now now what we will do is we will see how to store a function. We will see how to store a function on the server and then run the function whenever we want it. Okay, so first what we'll do is we'll create and save a JavaScript function on the server. So we'll say db dot system dot javascript dot save. We'll create a function with underscore id as, let's say, a simple echo function. The name of the function would be echo function. Okay, and the value of this function would be the actual function with argument x, and we'll say return x. Okay, so this is a simple function that we have that will return the value of x. Okay, so it is stored now, it is saved now, and now we will run that JavaScript function that we just created. So we'll say db dot eval. This is the method to run the functions. Okay, and we'll say the name of the function is echo function, and what it was doing is it was echoing the argument, right? So we'll say echo this test. So it is running properly. Okay, similarly you can create any number of JavaScript functions and store it, and you can use it anytime you want. So basically all the stuff that you kind of use regularly, all the operations that you do regularly, you can store them as JavaScript functions and use them whenever you want. Now if you want to list all the stored JavaScript functions, then what you can do is you can say db dot system dot js dot find, and this will give you a list of all the functions along with the body of the functions that you have created. Okay, so these are some of the administration concepts that you can basically use to do some kind of monitoring and maintenance inside your MongoDB server. So that's it from this video. Thank you.